Thanks for the money, clown, but don't come. Elena laughed after cashing in my payment. I smiled and replied, perfect. That night, I secretly canceled all the transfers and sent an official notice canceling the wedding. On the big day, a huge black box was delivered to the silent and empty venue. The show was about to begin. Thanks for the money, clown, but don't come, Elena laughed, her voice slicing through the family chat like a razor. I stared at the message, the payment notification still fresh at the top of my screen. 2,500 euros, gone. Straight into her account for wedding essentials, according to her. Essential like a spa weekend and matching silk robes for her and her bridesmaids, apparently. I could almost hear her arrogant laughter through the text. Perfect, I typed back, smiling at my screen. It wasn't a warm smile. It wasn't a forgiving smile. It was the kind of smile you give someone right before you light the match. Tonight, while Elena and my parents probably toasted their own ingenuity, I was logging into every payment platform linked to the wedding. The caterer, the venue, the floral designer, the photographer one by one, I froze the payments. No refunds, no warnings, just frozen. It was easier than you'd think when your name is the one on the contracts. Funny thing about generosity, people love it until they realize it comes with a power they never understood. Then I sent the final message. Not to Elena, not to the family chat. I sent it to the entire guest list. A simple BCC email. Subject: Event update. Body: the wedding of Elena and Alejandro has been cancelled. Please do not attend the venue. Further details will be provided soon. Thank you for your understanding. No explanation, no apology, just a black hole where their big day was supposed to be. By morning, the messages started flooding my phone. Confused guests, furious vendors, Elena silence. The venue staff told me they'd never seen anything like it. Chairs still in plastic, tables half assembled, florists arguing in the parking lot. And then, the delivery arrived. On time, as arranged. A huge black box, 2 meters wide and 3 meters tall, wheeled into the silent, empty hall on a trolley. No one knew what was inside yet. But they would. And when they did, no one would ever look at Elena the same way again. 2 months before it all imploded, I was still the naive one who believed helping family mattered. Elena had been planning her wedding like it was the royal event of the decade. She wanted a custom venue, a designer dress, a statement cake. Everything perfectly Instagram-worthy. And who did she turn to for help? Me. Because I had a steady job. Because I didn't complain. Because they knew I had savings. Because I was the reliable one. It started small. A few €100 here and there. You can cover the deposit, I'll pay you back next paycheck. Just help with the photographer, Mom said she'll split it. Each time, a new promise, a new lie. And each time, I told myself it was family. It was Elena, my little sister. But deep down, I knew the truth. Javier, of course, had his own venom. He didn't ask for money directly, he demanded it. Real men don't skimp on their family, he'd once said, after I'd hesitated to hand him a credit card for a small emergency. Isabel played the silent martyr. It's just until after the wedding, she'd sigh, as though she were carrying the weight of the world and not, enabling a spoiled adult daughter. The others were worse. My cousins started making jokes at a family barbecue. One of them said, loud enough for everyone to hear, when is Elena going to put sponsored by older brother on the wedding invitations? Everyone laughed. Even Elena. I laughed too. Tense, fake, counting down from 10 so I wouldn't throw a beer bottle across the lawn. Then came the worst. The charade exploded one night when Elena posted a photo holding the custom wedding dress, 8,000 euros of lace and fantasy. Underneath, she wrote, thanks to the real ones who made this possible. Wouldn't have done it without my amazing friends and future husband. No mention of me. Not even a tag. I stared at the screen for a long time, feeling something in my chest twist and tear. I hadn't just given money. I had paid for that dress. When I confronted her about it, Elena laughed. Yes, actually laughed. and said, "Relax, it's not like it matters. You're just the wallet, not the vibe." "And my parents?" Javier patted me on the back and said, "Well, son, you can't buy love. Learn that before you end up alone." That was their vision of me. A clown who paid the bills and stayed out of the photos. Then it got worse. 2 weeks before the wedding, I noticed €10,000 missing from my checking account. An unauthorized transfer. Guess whose linked account it went to? Elena's. When I confronted her, she said it had been a mistake. That she thought it was her own account. And besides, what did it matter if I earned so much anyway? I froze. That wasn't just rudeness. It was theft. It was betrayal wrapped in a fake smile and gleaming acrylic nails. I told Isabel. She shushed me. "Don't ruin the wedding with drama." I told Javier. He barked, "You're a grown man crying over a few euros?" That's when I realized. I was alone. And I had been alone for a long time. The public humiliation, the final blow, came a week before the big day. Elena posted a TikTok. I didn't even know she'd recorded me. It was me, waiting outside a bridal shop with her dress bag in my hand, awkwardly scrolling through my phone. She'd added a caption, "When your wedding sponsor is your brother #thanks for the money." It went viral. Tens of thousands of views, hundreds of comments laughing at the pathetic brother who pays for everything. Someone from work even recognized me. "Hey, is that you?" a coworker texted me, along with a screenshot. I went numb. And then something inside me turned to ice. The proof that same night, while checking her wedding planning app, which she'd accidentally left open on my laptop once, I found everything. Spreadsheets showing exactly how she was dividing the sponsor money between friends and spa days. Group chats where she called me Plan B and Walking ATM. Voice notes joking about how she could fake cry if I ever got suspicious. It wasn't an isolated moment. It was deliberate. It was rehearsed. It was who they really were. The plan I downloaded everything. Every chat, every voice note, every receipt. Then I sat back in my chair, looking out at the dark window, the city lights blinking like indifferent stars, and decided. They wanted a clown? Perfect. I'd give them the greatest show on earth. The setup for the collapse final payments for the venue were due 2 days before the wedding. Guess whose card was on file? Mine. I could have canceled everything outright. But that would have been mercy. I wanted them to watch it all crumble. Instead, I froze every payment. Venue frozen. Catering frozen. Floral designer frozen. DJ frozen. I didn't call. I didn't explain. I just let the silence grow. Meanwhile, I sent the message to the guests. Wedding canceled. Please do not attend. And I arranged one final delivery to the venue. The huge black box. They would all see it. They would see it, and when they opened it, when the truth spilled out like smoke from a magic trick gone wrong, they would know exactly who had pulled the curtain. And it wouldn't be the clown. It would be the architect of their own humiliation. The morning of Elena's big day dawned gray and lifeless. An omen that not even she could ignore. I arrived early. Not as a brother, not even as a guest. As the architect of their perfect humiliation. The venue was eerily silent. Rows of empty white chairs, half-assembled tables, wilting centerpieces abandoned by the vendors who hadn't been paid. No laughter, no chatter, no parade of arriving guests. Just cold wind and a tension so thick you could cut it. Elena paced near the entrance in her €10,000 lace dress, holding her phone to her ear, panic etched on every movement. Her voice cracked across the empty patio. "Where is everyone? Where are they?" She redialed, again and again, each unanswered call scratching a little more at her sanity. Javier stormed over to the event coordinator, face red, yelling, "This is your fault. You've messed something up." The coordinator, a tired woman who looked like she hated her job today more than ever, simply shook her head. "No, sir. We received the event cancellation notice yesterday. We informed the vendors and posted the notice." Elena whirled on her, shrieking, "What notice? Who sent it? I stood back, watching it all like a quiet spectator at a gladiatorial combat. And then, the cherry on top. A delivery van pulled up to the entrance. Everyone froze. Two men in black uniforms carefully lowered a huge, matte black box onto a trolley. 2 meters wide. 3 meters tall. No labels. No markings. Elena's face twisted into a mixture of confusion and terror. What is that? Javier yelled at the men. Hey, that's not ours. Take it away. But the delivery men ignored him. Because I had signed the delivery order. They placed the box right in the center, beneath the empty wedding arch. The crowd, what little there was, venue staff, confused vendors, Elena's 2 stunned bridesmaids, watched in silence, paralyzed. Then, the mechanism inside the box clicked. The front panel burst open with a loud bang, and out of the box sprang a fully costumed clown. Wild red hair, enormous polka-dot suit, a monstrous grin painted on its face. In one hand, a giant cardboard sign, "Wedding cancelled." In the other, an air horn. The clown let out a deafening blast and started to laugh. Not just laugh. Cackle. A manic, uncontrollable, shrill laughter that echoed through the empty hall like a phantom's curse. Elena stumbled backward, a gloved hand flying to her mouth. No, no, she whispered. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. She turned frantically to Javier, then Isabel, then the bridesmaids. But there was no one else to turn to. No guests, no applause, no music. Just the clown dancing in manic circles around her destroyed wedding, holding the blinking sign aloft. Javier tried to lunge at the clown, but slipped on the stone path and fell flat on his face. Isabel began sobbing, sinking into one of the empty chairs. Elena simply stood there, frozen, eyes glassy, mouth open in a silent scream. I stepped forward, calm, deliberate. Looking for your guests? I asked, my voice low but clear. She turned to me, furious, broken. You did this. I shrugged. Did what? Warn them about a circus with no tent? Tell them the show was cancelled because the star attraction was a fraud. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in thick black rivers. The €10,000 dress now looked like a cheap costume from a Halloween party. The clown skipped past again, honking the air horn with cheerful abandon. The final moment Elena screamed. A raw, animal sound that ripped from her chest. And she threw her bouquet at the clown. It missed, by a mile. The clown took a theatrical bow, still laughing. Then did a cartwheel across the lawn, waving like a performer leaving the stage. It was over. Not with a bang, not with a whispered apology, but with a scream, a clown, and a broken girl in a muddied white dress, alone beneath an empty arch. I turned and walked away, the sound of that hysterical, hollow laughter following me like a soundtrack. The perfect ending to a play that had been rigged against me from the start. But now I was the director. And their show had been cancelled. I didn't stay to watch the final collapse. I didn't need to. There are some things you just know are burning, even when you turn your back on them. That night, I checked my phone. Just once. Dozens of missed calls from Isabel. Several from Javier. Elena, incredibly, left a series of voicemails that ranged from pleading to threatening. Fix this. I'm going to sue you. Please, don't you understand? You're still my brother. I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table in the small apartment I was already half-packed to leave and watched the city lights flicker outside. There was something liberating about the silence. About the fact that, for the first time in years, they couldn't reach me. The aftermath in the days that followed, their stories began to shift. Elena posted cryptic messages online. Sometimes family betrays you in the worst way. Javier posted his version in some Facebook groups. Money makes people crazy. We forgive, but we don't forget. Forgive? I laughed. They rob you blind, punch you in the face, and then ask you to apologize for bleeding on them. But the twist was no one really cared. There was no mass sympathy for them. No outrage. Most people just moved on. By Monday, the non-wedding was no longer a major event for anyone except Elena and her delusions of grandeur. My own plan. I spent that week doing something better. I quit my job, walked into my boss's office, placed a neatly folded resignation letter on her desk, and said, "I'm done letting people take advantage of me. Effective today." She nodded, like she understood more than I'd said. I'd already arranged something different. A small opportunity in rural Castilla-La Mancha. Nothing flashy. Just a quiet property maintenance contract in a lakeside village no one had ever heard of. But it was mine. My decision. My fresh start. The unexpected twist. I thought that was it. Until the letter arrived. A week after the non-wedding. A battered envelope slipped under my apartment door. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a short, typed letter from Alejandro, Elena's almost husband. I sank heavily into my chair as I read it. I figured you'd like to know. I was never in love with her. She blackmailed me into getting engaged. I was about to back out, but then I heard what you did. You saved me. I'm gone. I left town. Don't look for me. But thank you. Blackmailed. The word echoed. 3 times the charm. Alejandro wasn't the spineless weakling I thought he was. He was trapped. Manipulated. Just like I had been for years. Only his chain had a shiny diamond on it. And somehow, despite all my rage, despite the wreckage I'd left behind, I'd also saved someone else. Without even trying. The family's last attempts that same day, Isabel called again. I finally answered. Please, she said immediately, no greeting, no breath. Elena isn't well. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. She says you ruined her life. You have to fix this. Not my circus, I said calmly. Not my monkeys. You're supposed to be her brother. Isabel snapped, dropping the fake concern syrup. Do you think leaving her like this makes you better? I smiled, though she couldn't see it. It doesn't make me better, I said. It makes me free. I hung up, blocked their numbers, changed my email, deleted the old family chats, signed the new lease. The final move before leaving the city, I made one last stop. The bank. You see, a few months back, when Elena was busy collecting money for her fantasy wedding, she'd also convinced my parents to co-sign a loan, using my name as an emergency guarantor. They thought I'd never notice. They thought I'd always be there to bail them out. They were wrong. I handed the bank a stack of documents, proof of fraud, withdrawal of consent, request for a full investigation. Their little financial house of cards was about to collapse in ways they couldn't even imagine. The very foundation they'd built their lives on, my forgiveness, my silence, my willingness to clean up their messes, was gone. Now, they'd have to live among the rubble. A new beginning. 2 weeks later, I was standing on a small porch overlooking a silver lake. No ringing phones, no urgent messages, no fake tears. Just the wind through the trees and the first scent of autumn in the air. I'd signed the final papers that morning. The maintenance business was officially mine. Old, a little run down, but honest. And with it came a small cabin. Nothing fancy, but solid. I moved in that same day. Carried everything myself, box by box. Not a single item from my old life crossed the threshold. When I was finished, I changed my phone number. Printed it out, framed it, and hung it over the doorway. Just above a small wooden sign, I carved myself, "No clowns allowed." A couple of elderly locals chuckled when they saw it. One nodded and said, "Good policy." I smiled, shoved my hands in my jacket pockets, and looked out at the silver lake stretching endless and free. The unexpected closure the day I finished settling into my new life. Something happened I didn't expect. I got a call. Not from Elena. Not from Isabel. Not from Javier. It was from Alejandro, the almost groom, the man I'd unknowingly rescued. He didn't say much. Just that he was somewhere in Asturias now, working construction, happy. He thanked me. Said the day I canceled the wedding was the day he got his life back. Wished me peace, too. And hung up. No long speeches, no promises to keep in touch. Just two men, really strangers, bound by a simple truth. Sometimes you don't escape the circus. Sometimes you burn it down. The final thought, I wasn't angry anymore. Or sad. Or bitter. I was just done. And you know what? Peace doesn't come with fireworks or grand gestures. It comes in the quiet moments. In knowing you're no longer anyone's fool. I wasn't the clown. I wasn't the sideshow. I was the man who burned the tent down, salted the earth, and walked away whistling. Because sometimes surviving isn't enough. Sometimes the real victory is becoming so untouchable that no one ever dares to build a cage for you again. The final act that afternoon, I took a walk into town. Small, quiet, the kind of place where people say good morning and actually mean it. I stopped at the local post office. Filled out a simple form. New name on the mailbox. No forwarding address. Then I walked to the hardware store. Bought a new padlock for my gate. Hung a small, hand-carved wooden sign under the mailbox. Simple. Clear. Private property. No clowns allowed. A couple of elderly people chuckled when they saw it. One nodded and said, "Good policy." I smiled, shoved my hands in my jacket pockets, and looked out at the silver lake, stretching endless and free. The unexpected closure the day I finished settling into my new life, something I didn't expect happened. I received a call. Not from Elena, not Isabel, not Javier. It was Alejandro, the almost groom, the man I'd unknowingly rescued. He didn't say much. Just that he was somewhere in Asturias now, working construction, happy. He thanked me. Said the day I canceled the wedding was the day he got his life back. Wished me peace too, and hung up. No long speeches, no promises to stay in touch. Just two men, virtually strangers, united by a single, simple truth. Sometimes you don't escape the circus, sometimes you burn it down. The final thought, I wasn't angry anymore, not sad, not bitter. I was just done. And you know what? Peace doesn't arrive with fireworks and grand gestures. It comes in the quiet moments, in knowing that you're no longer anybody's fool. I wasn't the clown, I wasn't the sideshow, I was the man who burned the tent down, salted the earth, and walked away whistling. Because sometimes surviving isn't enough. Sometimes, true victory means making yourself so untouchable that nobody ever dares build you a cage again.